happy to be here. Yes, I graduated from St. Anthony back in the day, 1989 to be exact. I'm one of two from my family who graduated from St. Anthony. I'm the younger version. Some might say the better version, but that's for others to decide. So my brother graduated in '83. So for me, it was no brainer to go to St. Anthony because I've been around St. Anthony since I was in third grade, maybe a little bit younger because my brother's 6 years older than I am. And I greatly enjoyed my time there. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, I thought a lot about this, and I thought, what would I want to hear when I was a high school kid? And I'd want to hear more about stories, less about telling you what you need to do in life or whatever. You'll find your way. I trust you will. You have good teachers. I loved my time at St. Anthony. It'll prepare you. And I know it's changed a lot since I was there, but I'm sure it's still a great school. And so I'll just tell you some stories, and you can hear about where your life can go after you graduate from St. Anthony's, because the title says it all. It's My Meanderings, because I think that one thing I'll restate a couple times is life takes a lot of turns, and you just need to be ready for them and plan and embrace them. Embrace opportunity wherever it comes. Okay, so first is to start off a little bit about myself, and this is an example of life and its meanderings. I'm Colombian. I am born of two Colombian citizens who were born and raised in Colombia and then had a dream of moving to the United States. I am the only member in my entire family tree born outside of South America. At least for the certain two generations, both before mine and after mine. And my parents are from a little town called Neiva. Neiva is in the center of the country. It sits between two parts of the Andes mountain ranges. Colombia is the only place in South America where the Andes split into three different mountain ranges. And so it's a valley there. It's about the size of Corpus Christi, except it's not as developed, and everybody knows everybody's business, just like any good small town. So my parents moved to the United States in the middle 60s, and my father eventually ended up with a job in San Antonio, working at least initially with a multinational construction company. He was a civil engineer, and so in 1971, I was born. I went to St. Anthony High School. Like I said, it was destined for me from the beginning, and I loved every minute of it. I have great memories of it. From there, I graduated and I went to the University of Texas. Some might say the best university in the state of Texas. I would say that as well. It is a fantastic school. If you go no further than Austin, Texas, you have done yourself a good thing. It is a wonderful school. And the great thing about it is that you can get, it's all about what you want out of your education. If you want not much, you can get not much out of UT. If you want an Ivy League education, you can get the equivalent of an Ivy League education out of Austin. I'd say that is true for everywhere you go for education. It's what you want out of it. There are good teachers everywhere. I should know, I'm one of them. And then I graduated from there. I received a degree in anthropology, the study of man. And I focused my studies on evolution, and the evolution of man and primates. And so I was interested in fossils, fossil history of man, which includes monkeys and apes and lemurs. I really didn't think that there was anything else to do with my degree except go get a PhD. So I did that, and I went to State University of New York at Stony Brook, which at the time, I'm happy to say, and I'm not trying to really, I joke around about tooting my own horn, but I'm not real serious about it. But at the time, I was really fortunate because it was the best program in the world for biological anthropology. Some of the early stuff about the fossil Lucy was not discovered by these folks, but analyzed and probably came to the right conclusions about our ancestry. As I got there, I decided I really liked to work with bone, and because bone is one of the main aspects of the fossil record. And so as I started to get more and more interested in the basics of bone biology, it led me away from anthropology. And my next step was to do a postdoctoral fellowship, which is just the next step of education and learning to become a professional in research and science. But I was, again, fortunate enough to do it at a really great place at Harvard Medical School and at part of the Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital system, which is one of the 4 hospitals of the Harvard system. And that started my trajectory into orthopedics. My mentor is an orthopedic surgeon, a full professor of orthopedic surgery at Boston Children's and at Harvard Medical School. And I have several mentors from that back over there. And I started to become interested in clinical aspects, medical aspects of bone, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, nowadays, how diabetes impacts bone and the awful stuff that diabetes can do to bone, along with all other bone systems. So what did I get out of St. Anthony? I think that's an important point for the talk. Many things. And again, you have to look at it in perspective of, I went to the school under a different set of supervisors, but I'm sure that many of the same aspects pertain today. One, I was exposed early on to a life of service. I was taught by the Oblates of Mary Immaculate, people I greatly respected for everything they did. And I had moments of crisis in high school like everybody else does. And I turned to them for support, and I greatly received it. And there's a oblate named Dr. Father Raul Salas, who I keep in touch with to this day. He married me, he baptized several of my kids. I learned a lot from the oblates about a life of service, and you'll see how I implement that now. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up. It's been a rough past 2 months. I also lived there. I know I don't think that anybody lives there anymore, and that's okay. But what it did teach me was how to get along with people, because I was forced to live with them. And that's a really useful skill because it teaches you how to create teams, be part of teams, learn how to lead, and sometimes learn how to sit at the back and be part of a team and support it. And then lastly, and this is in no particular order, I learned an appreciation for education. I didn't know it at the time. I was just 16 and 17 and 18. And so I was a doofus who just liked to have fun and play sports. But I can see now in retrospect how much it meant to me. My 2 takeaways for today. Life takes many turns. Plan, expect change, adapt. At the end of the day, do what makes you happy, especially if you're going to do it for the long term. That's what matters. Secondly, always be a good person. Care for others, treat people well. And I can promise you, if you do those things, you will be rewarded. You won't know how. You'll reflect on it and you'll see how. Okay. This is my support group. This is my wife on the right, and I have 3 daughters. They go from, the one in the black is Maya. She's 20 and at the university, Boston University. The one in yellow is 16. She is a junior at Lee High School, and I'm wearing my Lee High School hat today. She goes to International School of the Americas. Why am I wearing it? Because today's game day. She plays varsity soccer, and I always wear the hats on game day. And then my youngest, who's a freshman in International School for the Americas, in the middle, Clara. So it's Maya, Eva, and Clara. And she's a theater nerd. And my wife is a professor of law at St. Mary's University. Okay, one quirky thing about me. Hopefully, you have learned that this is the David made by Michelangelo. That's a beautiful piece of work. When I graduated from college, I got to travel Europe for 6 weeks as a gift from my parents. And I saw this in person. And since then, I go the world capturing pictures of myself, replicating the David everywhere I go. It's a silly little quirk that I turned into a tradition that me and my daughters do. And this is us in front of a cathedral in Budapest a couple of years ago. I like to replicate the David anywhere I go. Like I said, it's silly. Okay, so what do I do these days? I work at the University of the Incarnate Word School of Osteopathic Medicine. I work with a great team of people who teach anatomy, and some aspects of physiology, and I teach bone biology to med students. That's boring and nobody wants to hear about that. And so I'm going to skip it. So this is the part I do. This is where I say, do what makes you happy and treat people well, and life will reward you. I work on a medical mission. I run a medical mission that goes to South America, goes to Colombia, goes to the little town my parents are from. The person right here in the left image that is sitting surrounded by people who look like they love him, and they do, and they did. That was my father. My father founded this medical mission. My father was a civil engineer. He was not, he hated blood. He hated anything that had to do with disease and deformation and everything, but he was a master organizer. The short story is he met somebody on an airplane flight between Dallas and Miami, traveling to Colombia. And she was chaperoning a little boy who had multiple deformations of the face and had the inability to speak. The boy took a liking to my father, and this, you might say, it was fated because my father was weak of stomach for these types of things. And he would always try to avoid these types of interactions. But the boy insisted. And little by little, he kept pestering my father to where my father got interested in who was chaperoning him. Well, it happened to be an individual representative of Healing the Children. And from that interaction, 1 year later, the first Healing the Children medical mission was established in Colombia, in Neiva, South America, Colombia. There's the picture of the first mission, about 20 people. And 26 years later, we still do it. In the first year, there were probably 20 or 30 surgeries performed. Now in 4.5 days, we perform 170 surgeries. We went from a team of 20 to a team of over 100. We include Harvard Medical School, Columbia School of Dentistry, University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio, Staten Island University Hospital, a surgeon from Spain, surgeons from Central America, surgeons from Colombia. You name it, we probably cover it. Here I'm going to teach you a little bit about what we do. Again, this is where we go. We work out of a hospital. We don't work in a shanty or some kind of totally rural area. We work out of a hospital. It helps us to be productive. People come to us, and you will see what that means in a moment. It's not like going to a hospital here. There are a lot of things that aren't available, and some things we have to make up as we go. But it's a good hospital. Our program can be broken down into 3 types of surgery. Deformations of the face, like you can see people with open lips and open palates. We don't see them very often in the United States, but you see them often in developing countries because it's often associated with nutrition or deficits of nutrition. And so that's called cleft palate and cleft lip. And so that would fall under the category of OMFS. We also do plastic surgery for people who suffer burn scars and other different types of deformities, like people who are born with their fingers webbed together. Syndactyly is what it's called. Or people, or people who are born with 6 digits, and if necessary, we remove one of them. Little kids who show up and someone was playing a joke, and this actually happened, threw gasoline on her. They thought it was funny. She had a huge scar along her neck, and she couldn't turn her head because the scar had contracted and wouldn't allow full head turns. And then orthopedics. And what does that mean? Bone stuff. Some kids are born with their hips dislocated. And that's a you don't see that in the United States. You never see it in the United States. And then there's something else called clubfoot, and that's when they're born with their feet turned downward and towards the inside of towards the middle of their body, and they don't have control to flex it like you and I both do so that we can run. Again, you don't see that in the United States because it can be taken care of with a cast. If there are comments in the chat, I can't see them, and I'd prefer that you ask a question so I can keep going. It's hard for me to do both at the same time. Anyway, so these are a bunch of surgeons, and we also have support anesthesia, people who help get the patient ready for surgeries, nurses who help at all levels. And then for those patients who have the oral problems, they learn to speak in a very different way than we do because they can't make words the way we do with the top of our mouth. So they need speech therapy so that they can learn how to speak, because one is the deformation of the face and the impact it has on their personality and mental disposition. And the other is the way they sound. And then they get made fun of, they get bullied for both of those. And so what we try to do is, once we correct their facial features, we try to help them to speak better, be more normal in the way they speak so that we can understand them and help them out with their lives to make it a lot easier on them. So we have a lot of different teams. One of them is the orthopedics team. That's my mentor down on the bottom left, Brian Snyder. He's now a full professor of surgery at Harvard. And see those feet right there on the right-hand side? So he's sitting up normally. His feet point all the way backwards. And you see how, let me see if I can use the annotate function. I don't see the annotate function on here. Let me try it again. No, I don't see it. Okay, anyway, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. You can see his feet have heels on them that developed because his feet were turned backwards. So your heel, your normal heel that's in the bottom back of your foot in your shoe, because his foot turns the other complete way over time, a callus developed. And he walked that way with his feet turned the complete opposite way. First time I saw this little boy, he was walking up the stairs. It was really sad. That's a tough life. He's about 10, 12, and his feet just turned the entire other way. So we worked on him and we helped him out, and he walks much better these days. Plastics, what do our plastics teams do? This is a little girl named Maria de Los Angeles. You can't tell, but behind the hair on her right side of her head, she used to have a little, imagine a cherry tomato, okay? But take your ear off and put the cherry tomato there and put a hole through it. That was her ear. Completely deformed. It just looked like a little cherry tomato with a little hole in it. Some of our surgeons are amazing. They can make an ear out of rib cartilage. So they sample a little piece of the ribs and then make an ear out of it to the point where it looks pretty close to normal. It gives the kids a lot of confidence. Right now she has the hair down because she's not yet done, and she's hiding it. By the end, she'll be showing the ear. I can assure you of this. I've seen it many, many times, not a million times. That's a lie. I've seen it many times. Okay, so we do wonderful things like that. This is our oral maxillosurgery team. The gentleman in the bottom left image wearing the Healing the Children shirt with that beautiful widow's peak head. That's Pedro Franco. He's a fantastic surgeon, and he works on these kids. And you can see the baby there has a cleft lip, has a gap in the lip, which also goes into the palate. So whereas you put your tongue up against the top of your palate, there's just bone there and skin or mucosal lining. That kid has an open hole there. And so when he drinks or eats, the food goes into the nose right away. And so they need to be repaired. The little boy on the right, his name is Cesar, number 1041. He's our star. He came to us, here's a story. Woof. He was born with a cleft palate and a cleft lip. So he had the whole complete opening of the face, complete. Mom and dad did not want to take care of him. So they were going to put him in an orphanage because they just felt that they couldn't handle it. Grandma stepped in and said, I'm going to take care of the little boy. You leave us alone and we'll take care of him. And grandma, of course, a little bit mad at the parents, set out on her own. So she heard through radio advertising about us and brought him to us. And one of our surgeons, either Dr. Franco down there or one of our other surgeons, repaired his palate and repaired his lip. And see, you can see his lip looks pretty good. And his, you can tell he was a cleft palate, cleft lip patient because the nose is usually a little bit pushed in, aside from the swab thing hanging out of his mouth. Anyway, but his name is Cesar. And when he learned to speak without a palate. So he always says, because you have to use the back of the throat to make your words. Okay, well, you fix the face and you fix the deformation, but he still goes to school and speaks differently. So he was bullied a lot. And so we went through different surgeries. Our surgical team repaired the palate, but he still had the speech impediment. So we have this wonderful professor from Teachers College, Columbia University, who teaches speech therapy and is a practitioner. And her goal is to teach speech therapists in Columbia so that there are more and more of them who are able to correct these problems, but as well as to work with these kids. So she told grandma, here's some homework for a year. Go and come back and I'll see you in a year. And she gave her more homework with Cesar than anybody could ever do, knowing that if she only accomplished 10 to 20% of it, that he would come back better in his speech therapy. Well, a year later, I was working registration and Kate, Dr. Crowley, called me over and told me I had to go see something. So I go into her exam room and there's Cesar. Again, Cesar previously spoke like, and it's hard to tell unless you're accustomed to it. Well, she said, Cesar, ¿cómo te llamas? And Cesar responded, me llamo Cesar. And he spoke very, very clearly, still a little bit, but very, very clearly. And of course, everybody starts crying, everybody's so happy. And then everybody turns their attention to grandma because the only reason he made it was because grandma led the way. Grandma made him do it every day, every day. And the change in the boy was amazing. So for whatever reason, Dr. Crowley's students tend to be women. Whatever. So she usually brings 10 to 12 female students and they're older college age, so juniors and seniors, and then a few postgraduates. This little boy was standing in front of 10 to 12 women, and he was just trying to slay each and every one of them with the newfound confidence he had with being able to speak clearly. And he knows he's cute, and now he's speaking, and everybody's cooing over him, and he's just eating it up and just like trying to flirt with each and every one of them. And to see that in a little kid who previously was being bullied is amazing. And Dr. Crowley told me a phrase that I think I will always remember, which is, what we do is our surgical team builds the kid the guitar. Our speech therapy team teaches the kid how to play the guitar. And that's what's crucial. It's a team effort here. How big is this operation? We have 1 day of screening. We receive over 650 children on 1 day. Imagine 650 to 800 children, each one with at least one family member. It's never just one family member, but at least one. This is an ocean of people who arrive to us on the first day, and we have to screen down to 200. Every single one of them will be seen by us. We insist on it. They have traveled. I have a story where one of them, a mom, who spoke a Native American dialect and came from the jungle with her son who did not speak Spanish. She traveled first by walking 2 hours, second by canoe for 2 hours, then met up with a social worker who then brought her to us, and he was starving because of this long journey out of the jungle. He had never seen an IV bag, an intravenous saline bag. He thought it was a water bag, and he started screaming for it because he had never seen one before. In Colombia, they don't give bottles of water, they give pouches of water. and you just tear off the corner and drink it. He thought it was a pouch of water. He'd never seen an IV bag before. But we couldn't understand him because he didn't speak Spanish. He only spoke his Native American language. And finally, when we did get him some juice, he calmed down. But that tells you where they come from. They come from all over. And so we have to evaluate all of them. They work really hard to get to us. So we make sure that they're seen at least in some part by one of our team members. We do 4.5 days of surgery. We run 10 tables, and we do anywhere between 150 and 180 surgeries in 4.5 days. That is a total of around 33 surgeries per day, and anywhere between 4 and 8 on a table. We work hard. This is the recovery and the pre-surgery room. Those are mattresses on the floor. This town is 96 degrees every day of the year with 60% humidity. There's no air conditioning in this room. Latin American construction and design is usually not, and in most of the world, not with air conditioning in mind. There's no central air. It's maybe per room, but here it's ventilation is through windows. And if you notice that just below the ceiling, there's a rope that goes all the way around the room. That's the IV line. That's where we hang IV bags for the kids who've come out of surgery or are about to go into surgery because we don't have enough stands to put IVs on. So we just run a rope around the room and hang the IVs from there. That's how rustic we are. And everybody's packed in. There's probably 20 patients in there and you notice at least one family member per, sometimes more than one. Are they mad? Are they angry at us for this kind of conditions? Nope. They are as happy can be. They're really great to work with. They're smiles at all times. And I make sure that we all walk around there every day, twice a day, to say hello and just greet them with a smile and just say, we're here to help you. Just be patient with us. What do? We train a lot of people. This is the boring part. We train residents and we train future doctors. We also do research, and that's boring too. Nobody cares about that. We do research and we publish on what we find. We do it in cleft palate. We do it in orthopedics and stuff like that. We have just like 5 minutes. I wanted to show this video, but this video is 11 minutes long, so it's not you probably have to get up at 5 minutes and go. But I run this program now, like what I'm saying is life takes turns. I never envisioned ever having this responsibility in my life. I thought I was just gonna be an academic. I thought I was gonna study biological anthropology and be a professor somewhere, et cetera. Then I turned to orthopedics. And then somewhere along the line, about 15 years ago, after hearing my dad speak every year about how great this mission was and how transformational it was for him as the organizer of it, I decided that I would try to share that experience with him. So I went for my first time. I've now done it for 15 years. I run the program to a great extent. My father passed away on October 24th of this year due to complications related to COVID. And now I'm the boss. And that's a big legacy to try to take on. But we're a staff of about 100 people. We're a big family. Everybody who works on this is family. And it's probably, aside from having my own family, this is probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I didn't ask for it. I didn't look for it. It just came my way. And what I do now is I run the mission and I fundraise all the time. I do lots of different things. I do golf tournaments. We have a toy drive right now, supported by UIW School of Medicine, the Junior League, and we're helping out kids locally because we can't go to Columbia because of the COVID situation. So we're helping out kids locally at St. PJ's and Casa. These are kids in crisis or kids in the foster care system. because all we care about is really giving back. And so when I tell you about do good work, be kind to people, it comes from all of this, and life will reward you. How is life rewarding me? I've always told my daughters, we don't do this for any outcome of interest. We do this because it's the best work we can do, and life will reward you. Whew. I'm gonna get a little soft right now. Well, my daughter is now a pre-med major, doing very well in Boston, and the people who were my mentors are now her mentors in Boston. And so my daughter is being mentored by folks who she met through the medical mission by working with them in becoming a doctor. And hopefully she wants to become an orthopedic surgeon. And she has the ability to be rewarded in a way by having them as mentors that I could have never planned or ever asked for. It's just a life giving back. That's all I can say. All right, any questions? That's a lot.
That was incredible and inspiring. We will see if anyone put something in the chat. I will say that in seeing some of the people that are on here, they have some breaks from UIW because it's some dual credit classes that if you want to show the video, because I would personally love to see more of it and some of these other kids can. And if you open the chat, they could still question you while we watch that. If you want to,
I'll play the video.
Why don't we play the video? Any of y'all that are on the chat or on this still, if you have any questions for Dr. Fajardo, if you want to put that in the chat or comments or anything else, and that way he can kind of still see that while we're watching the video.
Okay, I'll do that. And I guess I just also want to say, if you have the opportunity to get involved in anything that benefits your community, it doesn't have to be international. It can be local. Do it. Be a person who changes things. You don't have to make the biggest changes. You just have to be part of incremental change. You will be rewarded, and you just need to seek them out. Sometimes it's by connections and contacts. Sometimes it's you have to actually go seek it out. But I take students with me. I've never taken high school students unless they're my daughters, but I take medical students, residents, and fellows. And what do they have to do to earn it? They have to work really hard. This is a big deal. You get exposure to Harvard and Columbia and UT and all sorts of other things. So you got to work hard. That's what I expect of you. But how do you work hard? You fundraise. You show me you want it. If you're not into it, you won't fundraise. And I don't, sorry, I'll be very frank. I don't care. I won't take you because I can line up 100 people tomorrow who want to go with me. But the ones who really want to go are the ones who set themselves apart and show that they want it. And that's part of being ready for anything. So, but I'd say your school will prepare you for this life of service. You just have to listen for the calling when it comes, and it'll come. Okay. All right, let's watch this. Get your tissues ready.
Off to Neva.
Neva, a city about 200 miles from Bogota, the capital city of Colombia, welcomes a surgical team of healing the children with open arms and a rainbow of hope.
Estoy aquí para ver si me operan la niña.
Hoy me encuentro aquí porque mi hijo tiene microcefalia debido al virus del Zika y debido a este virus mi hijo ha tenido muchas más patologías como ha sido la luxación de caderas.
More than 100 volunteers from different parts of the world arrived to Neva to provide free medical care.
We provide total comprehensive care for kids with cleft lips and cleft palates.
The ability to impact so many lives, not just the children, but the families of the children, is really remarkable.
Our mission here with Healing the Children is to come to this country and use some of the skills that we have to help as many children as possible, to change as many lives as we can, and to make a difference.
really enjoy it. It's amazing, the camaraderie and the collaboration that we do here to create, more beautiful smiles.
Sin las operaciones de Children de Children, mi vida no hubiera sido la misma. Ahora tengo más confianza, más seguridad en mí.
About 700 families come from different points of the region seeking treatment for their children.
El problema de mi hijo nació con un labio leporino con la arenilla. La traemos para a ver qué opciones tiene para la niña y que me han dado buenas informaciones de acá.
All the patients are evaluated during the first day of the mission.
The hardest part is registration day, where we get an intake of over 700 patients. Little kids come that spend all day waiting to be registered, and the surgeons all have excellent camaraderie and work well together. And so we have 3 separate teams, where we have an orthopedic surgery team, we have a plastic surgery team, and we have an oral maxillofacial surgery team.
This is a group effort, so the surgeons, anesthesia, the nursing, speech therapy, everyone involved is here to help the children.
The group just loves to treat these kids. They all sacrifice endlessly. They buy their own equipment for the most part. They take their time off. It's just a calling.
We see how the program has increased regarding the care that we deliver to the patients, as well as the amount of patients that we see.
Among the patients, we found Saida. Her young mother brought her from a distant small village.
Pues hoy estoy aquí para que a ver si me le hacen una cirugía a la niña que me nació con un defecto. Tengo confianza en los médicos, que todo va a salir bien y pues todo la pongo en manos de Dios. Feliz. Bueno, pues yo hoy me encuentro feliz por tener mi niña ya bien operadita y le agradezco a los doctores.
Our mission really is to treat kids, but there are some adults that are just so pressing that what are you going to say? How can you not help them? Like the other day we did a 54-year-old woman who never had her cleft lip repaired. Our mission statement is for kids. How do we turn that woman away?
No es que va a pesar de mi hermana, porque ella ha hecho harto, usted sabe que lo que ella ha hecho es mucho. Pues imagínese, fue excelente la cirugía. Y sí, es muy bueno, desde que cambió bastante. Agradeciéndoles aquí a ustedes, por todo.
A joint effort of Healing the Children Northeast, along with various Colombian organizations and donors, have made this mission possible for more than 25 years.
This doesn't work unless every level integrates well and contributes and wants to help. And so to control 600 to 800 kids with a parent or two here, to control that traffic, that takes a lot of people.
A journey which started with a fascinating story has come a long way.
I'd been going to Guatemala with Healing the Children. 2 things occurred which started the NAVA program. The first was I had a doctor from Colombia come in as a fellow with me, and he was intrigued by what I was doing. So he came with me to Guatemala. We showed him what we were doing, and he then said, I'd like to do this in my own country, Colombia. At that same time, Angie Glick was flying on a plane, bringing back a little boy for surgery to the United States. And on that plane flight, just by coincidence, was Carlos Fajardo.
I was at the airport, and suddenly a little kid, about 6 or 7 years old, and tried to talk to me all the time, but he couldn't make a word. So I noticed it was a big group. I went there and said, I want to know who they are. They said, oh, we belong to Healing the Children, and we go to different countries to do free surgery to the kids. He said, wow. I felt like a big rock came into my head. That was God telling me he was sending a message to that little kid that couldn't talk.
Well, when you move the clock forward, a year later, Carlos arranged for the team to come to Neiva. We had our first trip in this hospital.
It was in April 1993. We had the first mission to Neiva. That was the first mission. We had 30 persons in that mission.
Healing the Children has grown throughout the years, and in 2019, this mission operated 174 patients. During the last 26 years, they have performed close to 4,000 free surgeries.
Doy muchas gracias a Virgen de Chile porque le van a hacer la operación allá a mi niño. Estoy feliz porque van a hacer una cirugía gracias a este programa. Estoy contento. Me va a operar la doctora María Fe, sus estudiantes y el doctor Ferro.
Yo trabajo con el equipo de los cirujanos plásticos. Las patologías, sobre todo del pabellón auricular, son las que tratamos nosotros y también estamos de apoyo para los cirujanos orales y maxilofaciales en tratamiento de labio y paladar fisurado. Bueno, el mérito en la reconstrucción de oreja la tiene el doctor Andrés Ferro, que él es que durante 17 años que yo creo que llevo viniendo es el que nos ha formado a muchos cirujanos más jóvenes en la reconstrucción auricular.
Es la posibilidad para los niños de recibir una atención especializada y un grupo multidisciplinario para ofrecerles una mejor posibilidad para aliviar pues, sus lesiones y sus malformaciones.
Here, as an oral maxillofacial surgeon, we're able to provide a variety of cleft care to our patients, cleft lip, cleft palate repair, as well as some bone grafting, a multidisciplinary approach. So, in coordination with the orthodontic team, with speech pathologists, with pediatric dentists.
The main goal for the trip this year for me was incorporating a dental team into the cleft palate team, helping the kids by doing cleanings and fillings and extractions of whatever they need, going over home care with them, their nutrition, speaking to their parents about home care, also giving them some education.
Our mission is to train local speech-language pathologists called fonoaudiologists how to work with cleft palate speech and repaired cleft palate patients, and then also to train the parents. It's one of our most important things because we developed all these materials in Spanish that we give away, and the point is we train the parents on how to do the speech therapy their child needs.
Behind this mission, there's an army of people who volunteer their time and make donations to be a part of this humanitarian effort.
They are coming from everywhere, from Switzerland, from Spain, from Texas, from all parts of the United States. We love it. It feels so great. Right now, Texas sent like 300 toys.
I belong to Dr. Hoffman's team, and so does Anna. It's a great feeling to help the children here and to always come back, and there's always more children, and the amount of surgeries that we do every year just gets higher and higher, and it's just a great accomplishment, and it's a great feeling being here helping the children with NEVA.
It's great, having a lot of fun, doing a lot of surgeries, helping a lot of kids.
Their service goes beyond the surgical intervention. In 2019, a new idea took life to improve the post-operative diet.
I was concerned that the kids that were having cleft lips or palates repaired or any surgery in their mouth needed to stay on liquid diets. About a year ago, a young girl showed up and she really was a gift to me, Clarissa Bowers. She was Miss USA in the Miss World contest and needed a project. She got someone to donate 100 blenders. Then we needed a chef to teach the cooking. She got in touch with a world famous restaurant group in Colombia called El Cielo, 3 or 4 excellent restaurants in Medellin and Bogota. And this year we tried our first project of teaching the mothers how to prepare from liquid food. They all went home with a blender, and I bought them enough food for the week.
Me siento muy feliz de haber aprendido algo para alimentar a mi bebé.
With 2 generations of the Fajardo family members running the program, Roberto sees the future bright and full of hope.
I'm proud to say that my daughter Maya can do my job without any problem.
I will not say that I'm fully ready to take over. I think it's a team effort, 100%. Maybe someday, hopefully, I will be performing the surgeries as well as helping to run logistically.
Dr. David Hoffman, the heart and soul of this initiative, feels humble and thankful.
I couldn't do this alone. This group is an extended family. Very unique. I don't think you can find it anywhere else. That's aside from being so emotional, I'm really just a ribbon around a beautiful bouquet of doctors and nurses that do a wonderful job.
I love it here. I wish I could come every year for the rest of my life.
Neva, we love you. 18 years, you're part of our family, so we'll be back.
It's just a terrific feeling to see these children's lives changed for the better.
Thank you, Neva. See you next year.
You can be a part of this great cause. Visit us at healingthechildrenforlatinamerica.com.
All right.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
My